Are we live yet? I don't know. We might be. Tell you what, done live. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to WeatherBrains, episode number 707 for August 5th. It's the pre-show, the magical time of the program where we share boring personal stories, humorous anecdotes, and we say outrageous things. This is James. We are starting a few minutes early. We are on our new platform, Zoom. As you know, Google Hangouts over the air has been retired. It is no more, so we are using this format. And last week was interesting in that we used it for the first time. But I'm back in my work cubicle here this evening, and let's see if we can get some other people on here. So what I'm going to do while I'm talking, I probably should have done this before I started the YouTube broadcast. So let's add a few people. How about Bill Murray? How about Aubrey Urbanowitz? How about Kevin Selly? How about Dr. John Scala? Just got a note from Kim. She cannot be on the show this week. She's speaking apparently at the United Nations tomorrow. Ooh. See, I don't get those good gigs like that. You know, I'm speaking down here at the East Aboga Rotary Club, which I love. I would rather be doing that. Let's look for Troy Kimmel. And let's see if old Nate might be around tonight. Nate Johnson. And I'll add Kim just in case. You never know. You know, when people say they can't make it, maybe they change their mind. So we'll add Kim. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's fire this away and see if anybody will join me. And if not, I'll just sit here and babble away for 90 minutes about nothing. But yeah, we've got an interesting show coming up in about a month. We're going to be live at the annual National Weather Association meeting. We were live in St. Louis last year. This year, we're live in Huntsville, Alabama. I believe that'll be the first Monday in September. That's about a month away. And so if by chance you're attending, please come by and see us. We always have a fantastic time. I see Bill Murray joining the show here. Bill? What's happening?
Hello, James. What's happening with you?
It never dawned on me that, you know, after last week, I should be checking audio, but I think we're all working here.
It sounds like JP put a little fix on it. Did it work?
Yeah. You know, everything was different with this. So the audio side, just everything is different. So he redid the audio show. So let me see here. Okay, so I got the chat up and I've got the participants up. Yeah, I think I've got this figured out. So we're good. So you can forward that, Bill, to whoever you need to invite. That email with the info on it.
I just did. So Richard Cook should join us. Will you interview me for about 5 minutes about the Weatherfest, James?
Yeah, man.
At some point. That could come
hard hitting interview.
Yeah, ask the tough questions, James.
So tell me about the funding. Are you taking money under the table?
There's no truth to the rumor that the Russians are paying for the event.
Russian bots.
It's really coming together. I think it's going to be a great event.
Cool.
And the main thing is, you know, somewhere in there asked me, you know, what we still need. You know, I'd love to have, you know, we still could have more exhibitors. We're going to open up a second slate of speakers, so we'll have room for another dozen speakers, probably. And I mean, I think we've got 14, 15 large vehicles, but you know, still. And we've raised all our money, so I think we're in good shape.
Awesome. And this is going to be at UAH, right? Not Von Braun Civic Center.
That's right. It's going to be at the Charger Student Union and the Shelby building next to it. Going to be tours to Swirl, tours to the Weather Service. I mean, it is going to be one spread out event. Turn down all my trains over here.
Yeah. So let me see here. Now, I like to kind of put the.
Well, I guess I need to send this out to everybody on the panel, huh? Because you probably haven't done that yet. No, you did.
I did. I sent it to all of the WeatherBrains regulars. They've got it. Okay. So
none of them are showing up.
Well, yeah.
Hello, I seem to be in.
Never a good sign.
I think someone cut the transatlantic cable there, Richard. Oh, there you go.
Never a good sign. Yeah, I'm watching this on the monitor here. And normally I don't watch the YouTube live, but with this new switching arrangement, I just want to be sure that everything is cool. So
I want to know about the Birmingham Burger Battle. That looks like fun.
When
you work out like you do, you can be in Birmingham Burger Battles.
I judged some event a couple of years ago at one of those hipster places in Avondale. And had all these burgers joints had their products down there. So and this is totally against my what I'm supposed to be dining on here. You know what I got to do? I knew I forgot
for that now though. You can do whatever you want to do.
I knew I forgot something here. I got to
what?
In order to get on the television, I have to do something here. They use live.bigbrainsmedia.com. So I've got to put the embed code for this YouTube broadcast over there.
So that still works.
Yes. I would like to ultimately for people just to use YouTube because that's a better chat. It's just better there. But the master control, they still go to live.bigbrainsmedia.com to find us. And so I just have to put the right embed code for this week in there, which is in there now. And that chore is done.
Talk to Richard for a minute when you get done, James. I'm going to use the restroom real quick before we get started.
And that's a show title. Richard, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Boy, what was that?
I think there might be a wee bit of a delay.
Okay, Richard, where are you located?
Isle of Lewis, just outside Stornoway, off the west coast of Scotland.
Wow, that's awesome.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, Aubrey.
Welcome to the show, finally.
Yeah, finally got there. Finally managed to get a date sorted.
So, and Richard, just so you'll know, this is the second week we have used Zoom as a platform for this show. We have been using Hangouts over the air for years and years, and it went away. It was decommissioned. So we are on this new platform, which we think we have figured out, but there's no guarantee.
It looked great last week anyway.
Yeah, so what I can do is just kind of go back to that view. So the Brady Bunch view is my favorite here. This some of the graphics I saw last week were awesome. Who did that Brady Bunch graphic? Was it Tony Rice?
I think it was Tony.
Yeah, Tony did. He did a great graphic. It was just awesome. But yeah, I would say that 92.3% of people watching or listening, they have no idea who the Brady Bunch or what the Brady Bunch was or what it is. It's an old TV show from my childhood. And when I'm talking my childhood, that goes back a long way. You might see it on, some, I don't know, not even Nick at Night. It would be on but we have a .2. We've got .2s and .3s and .4s. The greatest channel we have, it's 21.2, which is something called I think it's called Antenna TV. And it's all these old shows from the 60s and 70s. I'll sit there and watch that stuff, and I will laugh until I cry. I mean, I'll watch Green Acres, and that stuff, I didn't understand half those jokes when I was a kid. Now that stuff is funny. I mean, I don't know who wrote Green Acres, but that is funny. So we're on, let's see, we're on 17.3. I don't even know the numbers this show is on, but they'll hit us here in 8 minutes. So
we're that early?
Yeah, I was just I was nervous. I was a little nervous, so I fired it up early just to be sure I knew how to work this thing, because it's been a week, since I did this, and just wanted to be sure that it's working. I did see a little choice under my preferences to go under video. There's an enable HD check that I don't know if you guys have looked at the preferences, but that sure looks a whole lot better when I check that. And it also says touch up my appearance.
Yeah, we could. Do you have a double dose of that for me?
Paint on this barn won't help. There is no touching up my appearance, but there is a little button that says touch up my appearance. And, there's no hope for me. So I did not click touch up my appearance. But I'm learning all these little ins and outs of this platform. But anyway, I think we got it down here. So, and I think I've invited everybody again. Kim said she's speaking to the United Nations. Are you kidding me? Wow. Aubrey, have you ever been at the United Nations to speak?
No, I am not. I'm not as dignified as Kim.
No.
None of us are.
Happening. Let's see if you guys can hear this.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Yeah, I should have to be sure. The one thing, again, the complicating part for me is that I have some audio routing I have to do here, so people on the show can hear the audio elements as well as people watching and listening live. And I got to be sure that that magical audio routing is right on this new platform, and I think we're okay. If you are hearing Mo,
quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting,
then we're good. We're Leo.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte from This Week in Tech. You're listening to WeatherBrains.
Or better yet, the social media.
Let's get social. With social media.
We need to. Have you tried turning it off and on again? That's always a good one.
Have you tried turning it off and on again? Off and on again. Off and on again.
And of course, we have Aubrey's song. I can't play much of this. We'll get kicked off YouTube.
And Aubrey was the
My song.
Oh my goodness!
But my favorite.
Chemtrails.
Wow.
I got a great soundboard. Sometimes I'll sit back and listen to some of these old things from JB, and I'll just sit back and laugh. It's like watching Green Acres. I mean, it's just fantastic. This thing is this. JB, did you see this one today? Indian girls plow fields naked in attempt to bring rain.
No, I didn't see it.
Now you've never done this, have you? During a drought?
Yes.
You have plowed.
We may need some of them soon around here.
16, I was just so hot.
That was the 1952 heat wave.
I was just so hot.
JB, did you see this one today? Indian girl. That's just too good.
When Brian was at the hurricane, he got stuck at the perfect spot. I mean, it could not have gotten stuck in a more perfect spot. Building.
Yeah. We need to play this one. We haven't played this one in a long time.
We interrupt this program for a CBS Radio Net Alert Bulletin.
I might save that for the show.
Yeah.
So Kevin just sent a note, says Wi-Fi down in our building again.
Again.
We got to get a new hamster. I'm going to leave the Brady Bunch up until we start the show. No place to hardwire connect. You all have fun. He needs to get one of these little MiFi things or something. Use his phone. I mean, I've got, you know, what do you call it? Tethering, where you can use your phone to get connectivity. I mean,
something's happened to my iPhone 8, James. I have to hard restart it for the internet to stay at speed, and some program kicks it off to where the internet is just at a crawl, and it literally is making the phone unusable. And I've tried everything.
I don't know. That's a new one on me.
Maybe the iPhone is a piece of crap.
Or maybe it's a piece of POC, as we call it.
Thank you, Troy.
Go down to the.
I have one too. Same thing, Bill. Happens.
Is it happening to you too?
Yeah, I sit here and it'll all of a sudden just freeze up.
Yeah,
throw it in the lake.
It's because your internet is so slow that whatever.
No, it means it's iPhone's a piece of crap.
I know, but I mean, I'm getting 150 megs everywhere else here in the building, but on that, I'll look at it and it'll be like 0.6 megs. But a hard restart will fix it temporarily.
Well, yeah, but you do that every
5 times a day.
Yeah, 5 or 6 times a day. The phone sort of outlives its usefulness.
Yeah, I got to wait till December to get a new one.
I want to throw this one at the bottom of Lake Travis.
And that's a show title right there, ladies.
Yeah.
I like my phone.
Yeah, I would, except mine's kind of particular. Like
Aubrey's got one of those fancy Pixel phones.
I do. I've got the cheap version too, the 3A, so I didn't spend a freaking arm and a leg on it. And it's amazing. It works just perfect. And it takes amazing photos.
Thank
you. How are you, James?
I'm listening. Somebody just sent me an audio. This is great. Our listeners are sending audio clips to go in the soundboard. This is it's just,
they're so good.
Our listeners are the greatest. Let's see here.
So we decided to have one on the show tonight.
Exactly. So has everybody got headphones on?
I don't wear any. You saying we getting feedback?
Yeah. Well,
Richard may have been without his. I think he's putting them on now.
Yeah, Rich, if you plug them in, that'll help our little feedback problem.
Was that feedback?
No, that was tumbling tumbleweeds. We're about to hit the TV here in 2 seconds.
You got to make me kind of weepy here. You need to quit all this.
Is that better, James? I turned it down a little bit.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to WeatherBrains, episode number
707.
Yeah, 707. With Hangouts, you had the title on the production box I've got here, but I do not have that. So this is WeatherBrains 707 for August 5th, 2019. It's Monday night. The weather's fairly calm, so you're not going to miss much on radar unless you're way down to the south. So I think we're good to go. So are we all here? Anybody missing? We need to wait on here. Bill, are we good?
I'm here.
I think this is maybe all. There may be other panelists that show up, but this is all I need.
Okay. Well, let's do it here. So I'm going to hit the record buttons. Record. This has been like so easy. Last week was so complicated. This week has been so easy. All right, here we go in the right tab up. Here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is WeatherBrains episode number 707. WeatherBrains is the weekly show all about weather, longest running weather podcast in the universe. We started back in 2006. This is year 13, if you can believe that. This is for August 5th, 2019. You know, Bill, when we started, we were like, 22 years old. We were like young whippersnappers back then.
Yeah, we were just out of college and full of vim and vinegar and decided we'd do a podcast.
I turned about 80 back in 2006, I think. So. But anyway, welcome. We apologize. Last week had a few little glitches. You know, we were in a new platform, so we had a few audio glitches and video glitches. But I'm hoping that those have been smoothed out. I think I feel good, Troy. I feel good for this week. I'm relaxed. I'm comfortable. We've had no issues. We're good, right?
Well, you're looking good, leisurely. You're looking leisurely, and
yeah,
got the nice, comfortable T-shirt on. And
that mean you have to leave early so you can change?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
So Troy, what's happening in Austin, Texas?
Well, back to 100 today. But that's not anything compared to what it looks like for later in the week. This upper level ridge out to the west bills east, and I'm thinking 100, 304 for Austin by the weekend. So send it your way, James. After that, how about it?
Woo, goodness gracious, that's nasty.
Yep.
Nasty. We were like 89 or 90 or something today. Very comfortable. So Aubrey, what's happening in the lovely Shenandoah Valley?
We're just living the dream out here. August really has not been too bad. Highs in the mid to upper 80s, a couple daily storm chances, not too humid, and nothing too severe. So our high today was 84.
All right.
You're living the dream.
Yeah.
That's just awesome.
Not too shabby.
Should mention we know that Kim is speaking at the United Nations. Did you guys get that email?
Yeah, that's impressive.
Wow.
Maybe she'll mention the podcast on there.
Yeah, I'm speaking tomorrow down at the East Boga Rotary Club. It's the best I can do. It's like she's got the United Nations. She gets the good gigs here. So we're going to debrief her when she comes back next week. And I do recall Dr. John sent a note saying that he is on vacation this week.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Finger Lakes? Where is he going this week?
I got a picture. I got a sunrise photo from him because he actually went to the same lake where I was at about 2 weeks ago. So I think they're enjoying it.
Ooh, okay, awesome. Well, yeah, and it's all. And what's weird, where we are down here, school starts this week. All the public schools kick in this week.
Terrible.
So it's just the summer is ended for the kids. They're back in school. So for families with children, they're kind of back into the routine here. So, but Bill Murray, let's bring in our guest. I'm excited about this program. Go.
Yeah, James, tonight's guest WeatherBrain is a longtime listener, email participant, guest suggester. He comes all the way from Scotland. Richard Cook, welcome to WeatherBrains.
Hello, it's great to be on. Been listening to the show since 2013 now, so I've been really looking forward to getting on.
Well, we are really excited that you're here. So give us a little geography first. Where are you in Scotland, and kind of put that in perspective for the geography challenge folks on the show?
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm on the Isle of Lewis, which is part of the Western Isles. It's a chain of about 7 islands, and it's about 40 miles-ish from the mainland of Scotland. And yeah, you can get off this island by ferry or by plane. So yeah, it's a fair old trek to get off. Never easy, never simple, especially when the weather's involved. Hopefully you'll be able to find it on a map.
Yeah, so you said the Isle of Lewis, was that right?
Yeah.
Or Lewis, Lewis, I guess. Yeah, that's like the biggest of the Western Isles, it looks like.
Yeah.
Are pretty close to it. So what city are you located in, if you can disclose that? Are you in the Witness Protection Program?
And that's a show title.
So yeah, I'm just outside Stornoway, which is the main town. The population of the island is about, Lewis and Harris is about 20,000. And then there's about 6,000 spread across the rest of the islands further south.
Wow, that is so cool.
So I'm really afraid to ask this, but Richard, what's the weather like?
Well, first off, it's the middle of the night. We got the poor guy up at
it's 1:30 Greenwich, 02:30 Greenwich daylight savings time.
What's the temperature over there right now?
So not sure about Fahrenheit. I always get confused with that. You guys always make it more complicated, but it's about 20 degrees Celsius in the day here. It's got down to about 13, 14 degrees at the moment. So a little bit cooler, but quite humid.
So Troy, give us that conversion really quick. Give us that rule of thumb.
Conversion 13 or 14 puts it in the mid 50s.
Mid 50s, yeah.
Say Fahrenheit. So I would give something to be in that kind of weather. Right?
Is that just in the summer, or is it moderated by the Atlantic most of the time, Richard? What's it like all year round?
In the winter, we rarely get below freezing. We usually hover in between about 4 and 8 degrees Celsius. In the summer, this has been a lot warmer than normal. We usually in the low to mid-teens. This year, we've been creeping up towards the high 20s. Sorry, the high teens, low 20s. So it's been a warmer summer. It's been quite a nice day today, but there's some rain and risk of thunderstorms tomorrow. Not like you guys get, but kind of what we get anyway.
So your weather must be similar to that of Ireland to some degree. Is that true?
Yeah, Ireland tends to get higher temperatures though because they're a wee bit further south. But on across the pond, directly with the same kind of latitude as Labrador Bay in Canada, but we just don't get the snow. It's very mild up here, especially in the winter. We'll get some snowfall events, but again, nothing significant. Usually lasts a couple of days and then it just freezes over and we're kind of stuck for it for weeks on end.
So give us a little bit of the geopolitical lay of the land. It's part of the United Kingdom, I suppose, on the same island as England. And how does all that work?
Yeah, so it's Scotland, England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Southern Ireland is separate. Obviously, there's a lot of politics going on with Brexit, which I presume you know about, and obviously Scotland looking for its own independence, which is a completely other thing that you try and avoid sometimes because it can get quite heated, like a lot of things politics do.
Yeah, Richard, welcome to the United States. You can't even talk about sunshine on a clear day and it doesn't get political. That's Trump's fault. Yeah, that's someone else's fault. That's the liberals' fault. So we'll let you go with that one. I'm not even thinking it even comes close. So.
Well, and then there were the troubles, of course, in Ireland and all of that, and the play that we went to see in New York in June was fascinating. Following up on a trip we had to Ireland about that history, and that's how they speak of it down there. So interesting for sure. So, how did you get interested in weather, Richard? What was the key?
It kind of almost since I was born. So I wasn't originally from Stornoway itself. I'm originally from Blackpool, down in England, which is on the northwest coast of England. Again, I can see you looking at the map. So
I'm finding all these places. I'm so amazed.
Yeah, it's on the northwest coast of England, and we just lived in a small town outside of that called Lytham St Anne's. Moved up to here in 2004, so that's been 15 years now, if my maths is right. It's a bit slow at this time of night. But I was born in 1988, and I was 6 weeks early, and I was born during a big storm. So some people could say I've been interested in the weather all my life. Weather events in Blackpool, including snow in 95 and bad severe gales in 97, 98 around Christmas and Boxing Day, they kind of helped me interest in the weather. Also, the Twister movie was a big part of my childhood. The VHS copy of that got played so many times that we had to keep buying new versions of it because it was just absolutely fascinated by that film. And then moved up here in 2004. Obviously, internet was growing and getting bigger, so I was finding other people with an interest in the weather. And then you got we had a big storm up here in 2005 with 113 mile an hour winds. They did a huge amount of damage across the islands. Unfortunately, a family of 5 were killed when the car was swept away by waves. So that's a big problem we faced on the islands is a lot of it's low-lying coastal roads, so they can get damage from that. And then the weather interest grew with social media and obviously podcasts, hearing about WeatherBrains, and I've been listening to WeatherBrains now since 2013. So there's been plenty of that, and then obviously going storm chasing for the first time in 2011.
Yeah,
so that kind of gets you up to about now.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about right there. So were they naming storms? Were they naming those storms that like the one that happened when you were born?
So I believe the Germans were naming them. The British Isles the British Met Office only started naming storms in partnership with the Irish Met Office, I think 3 or 4 winters ago. There's a lot of controversy about it, whether do we need to name these storms or not, but it has given them a lot more attention on social media. And if it's communicating better and people are kind of more aware, then it can't be a bad thing. But again, sometimes it's just a bit of a normal windy day for us.
You don't have a weather channel like we do, right?
No, we don't.
Oh, well. So can you pick up the Weather Channel from the United States in any way, streaming or?
Yes,
you ever
I'm not
watch
sure.
that from home?
Yeah, quite a few times. I'm not so sure if it's supposed to be streamed in the UK or not, but I've been able to pick it up.
We won't tell anyone.
No, we won't share. We won't share that information. Yeah, I was surprised in Ireland that you had to have a license to have a television. Is that same way in
it's the same
in the
in
kingdom?
UK as well. Yeah, with the BBC. So yeah, you have to pay a yearly thing for that, and there's no adverts on the BBC. Again, that's another controversial subject about paying for our TV license, but. And I've also watched a lot of coverage from America. You can get some of the stuff from News 9 in Oklahoma with Val Castor, and obviously James Spann's coverage, because that's how I first came across James, was the April 27th, 2011 coverage, because I was watching that with a friend, and we've seen a lot of his coverage over the years. There's quite a few of us in the UK that watch his stuff. So it's not just people in Alabama or the US that are watching his TV programs, when he's doing severe weather. It's people in the UK as well.
Look at that, James. You're international.
There are weather weenies all over this globe.
Yeah,
I've always said that, and weather has a universal appeal, and to me that's just fascinating. And I would do the same thing. I love watching live coverage of horrible storms. You learn from people that do a good job. You get ideas. You learn things about weather in other parts of the country and the world. So that's awesome. Very cool.
Talk about tornadoes in the UK and in Europe, Richard. I mean, I know you get them, and they're probably not as frequent, but they do occur in some areas quite prominently, don't they?
Yeah, there's quite a few tornadoes every year. Quite often, the funnel clouds that get misreported as being tornadoes, or you get what the media start calling them mini tornadoes, which just drives me up the wall because it's either a tornado or not. The most famous one in recent years was in 2005 in Birmingham that did a huge amount of damage that happened on a busy street. I think there were injuries, but that got more than just local recognition. It was national news. There was a tornado that happened in Stornoway in 2009 that flipped my mate's car onto its roof. He wasn't in it at the time. And wrote his car off. They had to take shelter in the club they were in as the windows kind of blew in. And I was working in the local supermarket at the time, and I could feel the warmth and kind of humidity that you don't recognize with up here, but you recognize as soon as you get off the plane in America, because it just hits you like a wall of heat. And, you could hear the thunder and lightning. I knew something was going on, but it was, again, before social media really kicked off, and it was before you had any kind of internet on your phone. So I had no clue what was going on. And it was only the next day when you saw the damage reports and newspaper headlines did you realize what had actually happened.
So what kind of job does the Met Office do in terms of forecasting severe weather, as particularly tornadoes?
So they don't do as much with kind of tornadoes just because they're so rare and infrequent. They've recently introduced thunderstorm and lightning warnings, which is quite new to their roster of warnings that they issue. They go along with the rain, snow, ice, fog, kind of the usual, and wind, kind of the usual hazards. And it's done on an impact-based. So you've got your yellow warning, which is kind of the lowest end of the scale, amber, and then you've got your red warning, which is exceptionally rare and a safe case for the really strongest of storms. The reason that they changed from thresholds to impact a few years ago, the Irish Met Office, they still do threshold warnings. So if they think the wind's going to hit 70 mile an hour, they will issue a warning for that in Ireland. But obviously in the UK, they don't. So there's islands down to the south of me that last winter hit 70 mile an hour, maybe for 7-8 days in a row. But because there's less population there, less people, and less, they're kind of used to it, if that makes sense. They didn't need to issue warnings. People don't tend to pay attention up here until the wind starts hitting 60 mile an hour and they go, oh yeah, it's a bit breezy. And then when you get in, when you start getting towards 70, 80, and warnings start to get issued, people start paying a little bit more attention then. But the strongest wind I've experienced up here was 113 mile an hour, and that was strong.
So the warning impact matrix goes from yellow to orange to red, and it's based on two axes. The y-axis is the likelihood of the impact, and then the low to high impact is on the x-axis. So you find that red square in the top right box when it's very likely and high impact at the same time. So compare that to what all of our crazy 111 colors we have in America, and all of our different terms and our struggles that we have to simplify this process.
Yeah, it gets quite complicated, especially when I go over to America, you know, when we're chasing storms, and you didn't realize the whole smorgasbord of, you know, different warnings and advisories and watches and everything else. And I follow a lot of meteorologists on Facebook, and you see them struggling to get people to understand the difference between a watch and a warning. And I've seen people recently comparing it to making a cake, you know, a watch being before you've made the cake and warning being after you've made the cake, kind of just try and simplify it for people. So I understand from listening to the show that they're trying to make it simpler and kind of easier to understand. There are flaws with kind of the Met Office's way of doing it as well. You know, obviously, I don't think there's ever going to be anything that's entirely perfect for everybody that fits, you know, neatly for every category. But, you know, the Met Office's way of doing kind of impact based, it seems to work.
So, do they keep the different hazards separate and issue different warning impact matrices for each one, or do they pile them all together and take the greatest common denominator?
So no, you can get combined warnings so often in the winter, or you can get a snow and ice warning, or sometimes you get a wind and rain warning. So it really just depends. Obviously, with the thunderstorm and lightning warning, we've got a thunderstorm warning tomorrow for Harris, which is just to our south, and a bit of Lewis. And that's the first time that kind of one of them warnings has been issued up here. So it's kind of a bit new to me, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Now, is that just for general thunderstorms, or does that mean they're going to be significant in their intensity or coverage?
Good question. I think
we'll find out tomorrow, huh?
Yeah, I think it also includes
tune in next week. We'll have the answer.
It kind of includes a bit of flash flooding as well. They've had problems down in Derbyshire, which is in kind of central England, with a dam where huge amounts of rainfall has fallen recently, and they've had to evacuate 1,500 people from their homes for the last 5 to 6 days. So thunderstorms have been quite prevalent across the country in the last week or so, since we had a bit of a heat wave a few weeks back.
What's the difference?
Richard, I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Bill. But Richard, I mean, thunderstorms where you are relatively rare, right?
For where I am in the Western Isles, we tend to get more of them in the winter time.
Okay.
In the UK, they seem to be becoming a bit more prevalent, but I don't know if that's because we've got more awareness and understanding that they're going on, and better ways of detecting them. The last week or so, you know, it's just been day after day of thunderstorms and warnings for pretty much the best part of a week, you know, advising people that they're going to be happening. Now, you know, you guys get thunderstorms all the time. You know, you're kind of used to it. It's your bread and butter. When I run a Facebook page called Western Isles Weather, and when we get a thunderstorm, you know, even if it's just a couple of rumbles, you know, my page lights up like a Christmas tree. Now, the people where you live are probably so used to that, they would just carry on, you know, regardless, unless it was like kind of more severe. When they do get days where, like, I think there was an event in 2014 where it just went on for hours, and that was really rare. And I opened the curtains, and it was like a disco out there because the lightning was just flashing so much, and it was quite spectacular. I'm
going to use that on my next thunderstorm post, a disco warning for northern Shelby County. The weather people here go nuts. They light up like Christmas trees too, even when it just thunders. You know, we're all running for the doors and the windows still, even after.
But I kind of equate, Bill. I think what Richard, I kind of equate his situation with what we would see more on the West Coast of the United States due to the current out there, where it's a little more stable, and you want to see people freak sometimes. Have a rumble of thunder in San Francisco sometimes. I mean, I know we have some people that watch out there, but I've talked to friends and they say, you know, I hear thunder. What does that mean? And then the ground can shake, and they don't care about that. But, you know, but the thunder is kind of interesting in that more stable type of environment.
So do y'all have radar available to you, Richard?
Yeah, it's not,
is there a national network of radars?
Yeah, so there's a radar sited about 2 miles away from me, which gives coverage to the Western Isles and out towards a small island called St Kilda, which has been uninhabited since the early, about 100 years now-ish. And that gives coverage out to the Atlantic, so you have a rough idea of what's coming at you, but not a great deal. And yeah, there's radars dotted around the country. It's not Doppler like in America, but they've improved it a lot and put a lot of money into making it better in the last few years. So it has improved a lot.
Yeah, some of those big windstorms you talked about, some of them probably were former hurricanes coming across the Atlantic, I would imagine. So any of those you remember that are memorable?
So the big Atlantic lows that I was talking about, the one in 2015 and the one in 2005, they're deep lows that come off Canada and they're enhanced by the jet stream, and we get them wintertime. The last few winters have been alarmingly quiet and calm. You know, we've kind of had high pressure blocking. 2015-16, it was just a procession of low pressure after low pressure pushing in, and we were getting wind warnings, you know, almost daily. It was hard to keep up with what was going on. We do get the tail end of hurricanes. Ophelia in, what was it, 2017 now? It's a bit fuzzy. It brought damage to Ireland. It grazed past us and didn't really do anything for us, but because there were wildfires and smoke in Portugal, it dragged all that air up with it. So it gave the most spectacular sunsets and sunrises for a couple of days, which was absolutely stunning. And obviously there was a lot of talk and fascination as to whether Ophelia was still a hurricane when it hit Ireland or not. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So you may have mentioned this earlier. What's your annual rainfall there on your island?
Oh, I should have had a look at that before I came on. Sorry. Can't remember off the top of my head. It's quite a lot. It's not as much as because our islands get a lot of rain. The west coast is more mountainy than the east coast where I am, and Harris, it has a lot of hills and kind of mountains in inverted commas. But then you hit the west coast of Scotland, and that gets a significant amount of rain as the rain is and the warm air is pushed upwards up the hills and over the highlands. So that gets a significant amount of rain and a lot more rain than we do. And you move towards the east coast and towards Aberdeen, and it gets a lot more drier there because obviously the rain's fallen mainly over Highland of Scotland. So we do get a lot of rain. Not entirely sure off the top of my head how much rainfall we get.
So what percentage of sunny days do you have and cloudy days conversely?
Not enough.
So sunshine is at a premium, huh?
Yeah, this year we seem to be doing all right. May usually is our best month of the year. We usually get high pressure developing over Scandinavia. You get southeasterly winds, and that's perfect for us. It kind of blocks everything off the Atlantic for a bit, gives us a wee bit of breather. That's usually when we can end up being the sunniest place in the UK. And as we head towards June the 21st, we can sometimes get towards 17, 18, 19 hours of sunshine, you know, on like a rare occasional days. And then you can get stuck under high pressure, the wrong kind of high pressure, where you just get cloud and drizzle and rain for days, and that can last for weeks on end, and it really gets grim. In the wintertime, it's tough because you're talking about a sunrise time of 8:30, 9 o'clock, and sunset at 3:30. I do shift work, so you're sleeping through the daylight. Yeah, it's not very nice.
So that's quite a change. Do you see auroras occasionally?
Yes, we get auroras and noctilucent clouds as well in the summer, which are personally my favourite. Auroras, yeah, it's towards more the north of the island. It's quite spectacular. There was quite a significant event a few years back where the whole sky apparently lit up and it was amazing and everything. I spent 3 hours in the cinema, missed the entire lot. I was quite gutted about that. Yeah, it was one of them events where everyone was talking about it for weeks after, and I was like, yeah, I missed a lot of that. So
did you see the display of the aurora yesterday? It seemed like many folks at higher latitudes saw some remarkable images yesterday.
We didn't get anything here. I think we were kind of stuck under cloud a wee bit. Anything that spectacular that happens in the sky, we tend to be stuck under cloud. You know, you get an eclipse, cloud, meteorite shower, cloud, you know.
Eclipse, cloud.
Show title.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're north of 58 North. That's pretty far up there. There's not much further than that, for sure. Do you ever hop over to Iceland or any places?
No, it's on my bucket list of places to visit, but it's not quite as easy as a hop. Getting off my island, quite expensive.
You have to fly to Glasgow. Is that where you go out of?
Yeah, so it's Glasgow, Inverness, or Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, yeah. So that was it. The British Airways plane that made the news several weeks ago about landing in the Edinburgh when it was going somewhere else, or was that? Do you remember that story?
Yeah, I think that was a different. I'm not sure which airline that was. If it was British Airways, we've got Logan Air here, which is a Scottish airline, but it's very expensive to get off the island anyway. You know, you ferry or you get the ferry over, and you're still in the middle of nowhere, so it's another journey.
I bet it's beautiful, though. I would love to travel there. That was going to be one of our logical next places to go. We heard so many nice things about Scotland when we were in Ireland, so that was
more than happy to give you a guided tour.
Yeah, we can't wait. We'll get up there and see you. So, talk about your storm chasing exploits. You started in 2011. You know, was that after the April 27th outbreak, or did you already have your trip planned before that?
Yeah, so I planned my trip in 2010, and it's with a company called Net Weather, who are UK based. Also go under the name of Weather Holidays for the storm chasing side of things. The guy who runs it, called Paul Botton, he's been going since 2008 and has captured over 200 tornadoes. So he goes out at the start of May and comes back at the kind of middle of June, end of June kind of time. He does a few tours in kind of this from Dallas, and then the rest of the tours go out from Denver, and then they usually do a trip into Canada as well. So kind of after watching the Twister movie so many times, I thought to myself, when I found out that it was actually doable and you could go over to America and chase storms, I was like, yeah, I want to do this. 2011, obviously, you know, the significant events of what went on during April. And then we picked 10 days where it was blue skies and nothing happened. And it was all very settled. We got a storm over a dam in Missouri, and that was about it. You know, there wasn't much else happening. And then a few days after I left, Joplin happened, which obviously I'm very glad that I didn't see, because that was not a very good event. I went back in 2012 determined to see my first tornado, and I think we got around kind of 7 or 8. There's some debate. We got on a storm outside La Crosse, Kansas, that formed at kind of sunset and produced about 6-7 tornadoes. And it was spectacular, just standing by the side of the road. You kind of got this kind of overload on the senses of kind of seeing the thunderstorm in front of you, seeing the tornadoes occasionally illuminated by the lightning. You could hear the grasshoppers. You could hear the tornado sirens going off in La Crosse. It did have a little bit of damage, but nothing, thankfully, significant. But it was kind of a real kind of eye-opening moment, and just kind of one of these kind of experiences that I'll never forget. I went back in 2014 and got, I think it was 4 tornadoes that trip. 2017, where nothing was happening. It was really, you know, scraping the bottom of the barrel. And we got 2 tornadoes, and you'd barely call them tornadoes. There were a bit of mud whirling around in the kind of a field. And then this year, I went back out in May, and it was just crazy over there, you know, flooding, tornadoes, everything. We got 13 in the end. So, yeah, this trip. And we were on the Nebraska day, which was kind of McCook-Ferrum kind of area, and to get 5 tornadoes. And I finally got the one I wanted, which was kind of photogenic and kind of one where you could definitely say, yeah, that's a tornado, because the other ones were kind of either shrouded in kind of cloud or rain, and, you know, just didn't look that great. And then kind of after that, what I've noticed in the last few years is the huge amount of chaser convergence and just getting absolutely crazy out there.
So were you chasing with your organized group on these last few times, or are you brave enough to go on your own, you're saying?
Not brave enough to go on my own, so I've gone with this tour group every single time. There's a few of the lads that have got enough confidence to have gone out on their own, but Paul knows storm chasing really well. You know, obviously, you know, there's still inherent dangers about it, but he's got a lot of experience doing it, and he's chased a lot of storms, and he's, you know, very good at finding how to get to storms that maybe other people wouldn't go after, or he knows which ones to kind of pick. And he's got such a photographic memory of remembering when we're driving along an empty road, and he'll go, that's where that tornado happened X number of years ago. I chased it. And, you know, just kind of getting that understanding and knowledge, you know, I kind of trust to go out with him over somebody that maybe had less experience. We also visited Greensburg this year. Obviously, they're rebuilding after the 2007 tornado. And we spoke to a woman who sheltered in her house and obviously survived it. And that was kind of a humbling experience and kind of an eye-opening experience. And she was really candid in talking to us about her experience and what she went through and how it felt, you know, being, you know, in such a significant event.
That is just incredible. So how do people react when they see a bunch of folks from across the pond that have accents coming through their towns?
It's quite mixed. Some of them are like, what on earth are you doing? You know, coming all the way over here for your holiday. Others are usually kind of making fun of the dodgy accent.
I'm getting kind of used to it, Richard. Aubrey, how about you? Are you starting to pick up on it? Yeah, Aubrey can't talk. So Troy, how many times have you seen a tornado?
I've seen a couple of water spouts down off the Texas coast, around Galveston and down around Port Mansfield down in deep South Texas. I don't think I've ever seen a tornado. I've seen a funnel cloud over land before, but I always find that I get locked down to in the past TV or with radio now, right, when you get the best severe weather going. But I've always wanted to go do a little bit of that that Richard is talking about, just because I think it's good to put an eye on these things and be able to see it. But I really haven't done it. Richard, when was the last time you were here and you went on a storm chase here in the U.S.? And I apologize if I missed that. That's
okay. That was May this year.
Okay. Did you, the one thing that is all the talk of all the people that go out and observe this sort of thing is that convergence you talked about, yeah, of spotters and chasers. I assume, depending on what storm that you were tracking back in May, were you witness to some of that?
Yeah, absolutely were. Okay. And it's kind of put me off going again. I've kind of in the point where I might not go out again for a while anyway. We were on the high risk day in somewhere in Oklahoma, and tailbacks of queues of people, doing 10 mile an hour while the storm just raced away from you, and every side road was full of people. Now, obviously, I'm adding to this, because we're coming from the UK, we're adding to the convergence as well. But what was making it scary for me was that there's lines and lines of cars and they're not moving anywhere. You've probably got locals in there as well. You've got chasers. You've got anybody that can download radar scope onto their phone now. And what scares me is, if a storm forms quickly and a tornado goes across the road and there's all these people there, they've got nowhere to go. You've got literally no escape route. We were seeing cars that had run into the back of each other. We'd seen cars in ditches and stuff, and people doing driving that was kind of terrifying, just to try and get ahead of the storms. And that is kind of what has put me off a wee bit. And I kind of feel like I've seen what I want to see.
Well, the thing that I kind of look at it, since I have a little bit of tie into law enforcement and that sort of thing, the law enforcement side of it, I try to look at it from that standpoint. And I know those folks, especially in the Plain States, Oklahoma, are just about up to there with it. They've just about had it. Law enforcement has. And again, what you said, Richard, so well is the same thing with me. The clock is ticking. And we saw this in the El Reno tornado when we lost colleagues, in the process. And that's what I worry about, because what you were just talking about, Richard, is the fact that you're in a very stressful situation, in a very dangerous situation, where your number of choices have just been minimized by the fact that there's so many people out there, and you just don't have much of a choice about where you're going to go.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with what you're saying there, and that's kind of what's putting me off, I was looking forward to days where the risk was more towards, kind of the low end, the slight risks. The days when we're out in Colorado on the last couple of days of the tour, you know, it was literally you and maybe a handful of others, and that was perfect for me.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what I wanted. When we were going through Oklahoma and Texas, you know, it was just a crazy amount of people and just too much.
Yeah.
So the new Blinded by the Light movie about Bruce Springsteen is coming out. And so you had every time you come to the States, you have to run into a customs official, and they probably ask you why you're here. The kid in the movie says he's come to see the hometown of Bruce Springsteen, and the customs guy in his best New Jersey accent says, "I can't think of a better reason to come to the States than to go to see the home of the boss." Have you gotten a reaction from a customs official ever?
Yeah, it's usually you're crazy, you're mad kind of thing.
Yeah. Now that you bring it up. Yeah.
What now, Richard? Go ahead.
One of my the people I was out chasing with a few years back decided they weren't going to tell them we were storm chasing, but they were sightseeing. Then they got questioned on the sites they were seeing and realized they couldn't name any.
You don't win if you don't tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to those customs people. Yeah. No matter where you're going, they are built to smell untruths. That is for sure. Now, our crack research team, otherwise known as my wife L upstairs, has come back with Edinburgh's average rainfall 26.3 inches per year, 668 millimeters. But some of the Western Highlands get 3,000 millimeters per year. That sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we obviously
I haven't done the conversion there, but that's over 130 inches, I guess.
Yeah, we get less than that. I think we're about 1,500 maybe. But yeah, we're kind of in the lower end here. Depends on the part of the island. We don't tend to get flooding either with it because, you know, it's not built up. You know, everything can soak into the peat, and it easily kind of, you know, drains the water away. So that's not too much of a problem.
Now, is peat still used as a heating and cooking fuel?
Yeah, a lot of people do. You know, people are wanting a good spell of dry weather in May, June, so they can bring the peats home. They can cook them. So it's still significantly used across the islands, and obviously popular with kind of tourists as well.
I was shocked that it was as sustainable. I mean, not from the pollution that it creates or whatever, but in terms of how it was protected and, you know, the bogs were cut carefully and, you know, actually were very sustainable.
Yeah, there's a lot goes into it, and it is kind of regulated well. I don't know massively about it myself because it's not something that me or my family have ever used, but, you know, there's a lot of people that I know that do, you know, go out cutting the peats every year.
Yeah, and for those whiskeys, I don't know if Scottish whiskeys, some of them are done with peat, but a couple of the Irish ones, you could actually smell that peat smell as it was fired over that fuel source, I guess.
Yeah, they proved to be quite popular from what I hear, anyway.
Now, our crack research team also says that measurable rainfall occurs over 250 days a year in the Highlands and 175 days in other parts. So that's a lot. Sounds Seattle-ish there, Richard, a little bit.
Yeah, it's rare we get more than a few days where it's not raining. May into June last year was significant because we went 3 weeks without any measurable rainfall, which is significant for up here. I started doing my Facebook weather page, which thankfully Kevin's not here or else I'll be in trouble, in 2012, and that has kind of grown, and a lot of it's got, I think, about 17,000 people on it now. Twitter seems to be bigger in America than over here, so it's on Twitter as well, Instagram, and kind of a blog to kind of get people away from Facebook as well, because Facebook has a tendency, you know, not to show everything to everybody. You know, I have 17,000 people, yet only 2,000 see it, so it's kind of frustrating.
Yep.
So is social media a big problem on that side of the pond, like it is becoming over here?
In what sense? In kind of
just the polarizing.
We'll hang on. Social media.
Sorry.
Yeah, just the polarizing vehicle that it's become, Richard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very contentious.
I guess with Brexit, it sure you've had an issue to get on both sides of, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Politics has definitely become a lot of people just shouting a lot at each other, and nobody having the tendency to really listen. So yeah, social media can get quite hard sometimes, and I've stopped following certain kind of news outlets because if you end up in the comment section, which is a really bad idea to do anyway, it just descends into anarchy in there. I'm quite fortunate with doing my weather page. Most people are quite welcoming of it. They're happy. They enjoy getting the forecasts. They're not, there to cause problems. And I don't tendency to have many trolls. There's the occasional one that gets angry about clouds because they think there's something going on with them. But mostly it's kind of well-natured, well-mannered kind of things. But yeah, social media causes a lot of anger. Instagram has a tendency to be a much nicer place. But again, I don't quite have the following on there. From kind of doing the weather page, it's resulted in me doing weather talks at schools, at retirement centres and other places. And I've talked about the weather and storm chasing there. And it's great just kind of engaging the kids, and they ask all sorts of questions that you never expect. And I was fortunate enough to, a couple of months back, get a volunteering award from the local volunteering centre for going out and doing these talks, which was kind of really amazing because, when I do the weather page and update it 2 or 3 times a day, it's hard to remember that I am actually talking to people and it's not just me doing it to myself. I forget that there's other people kind of reading it and absorbing it.
So how deep do you dig into, the models and all the different observational data that's available to you when you make your forecast, Richard?
Yeah, as deep as I can get. There's the GFS and the European model and kind of the Net Weather and Met Office kind of surface pressure charts as well, and just gathering as much information and looking at observations to make my forecasts. I do a morning brief in the morning, which usually takes about half an hour to do, and it's just a summary, kind of keep it as short as possible, looking ahead to the next few days, what's happened in the last 24 hours. In the middle of the day, I kind of do a blog post where I'm looking ahead in more detail of what's kind of happening and what's kind of happening now. And then in the evening time, I do a forecast for the next day, which can go into more depth. I do a kind of morning report section on the Facebook page first thing in the morning, and that gets 30 to 40 comments maybe a day, and that can be anywhere from Canada, people reporting in, Australia, down south in England, and across the Western Isles, which is kind of really cool.
Richard, I got a question for you. You referenced this earlier. How far, because it has received a lot. I mean, James and Bill, I know I've seen it down here. This dam that there's a problem with that they felt like is a threat. How far is that from where you are? I know it's not on the island, but how far away is that from where you are?
Probably 350 miles, maybe a bit further.
But this is all, is that threatened dam failure, which I guess is what we could call it, threatened where it's possible. Is that due to excessive rainfall or was it more related to just infrastructure?
I think it's more to do with rainfall over the last few weeks. And not just the last few weeks, the last kind of first half of the year was very wet. We had last summer, I have a friend who lives locally in the area, and he said the dam was right down to the bottom last year during a significant spell of hot weather that they had. And the last winter, it's just absolutely risen. And I think they said on the news today, they got it down to 50% of where they wanted it to be. And they're going to get it down to 25 before they can let people safely back to their homes. This dam was built in, I think, 1831 kind of time frame. So it's really old.
Well, and I guess, guys, I mean, James, Bill, and Richard, I get worried when I'm starting to hear about thunderstorms in these sort of locales, more and more thunderstorms, more and more of this heavy rain. Richard, I don't know if you saw this, but I'm on an email distribution group. The excessive rains that occurred the last couple of days in interior parts of Alaska. Have y'all seen this? I mean, I saw pictures today in some of the email that was coming out, about these areas, where rainfall on a given yearly basis is not all that much simply because of the colder climate. But they've received some tremendous rains in interior parts of Alaska. So I don't know. To me, that is interesting. I think we better pay attention to these sort of things as a sign of things changing on us just a bit.
You didn't get the buzzer there. That's pretty good.
I know.
Dancing. Yeah, I think that was the wettest day in the history of Fairbanks.
Yeah, I think it was too. And these pictures I saw today, I wish I could bring them up. I can't, but amazing the amount of river erosion in some of the rivers in central parts of Alaska and areas like that. And then we hear about this rainfall, not that far from where Richard is. And with older infrastructure on dams, that can cause problems when dams are that old. So, and I think it's probably something, well, I don't think it's probably, it is something we've seen here in the United States as well, because our infrastructure also is getting a little bit aged. So we put it that way. I'm trying to be careful there, James. But.
Yeah. Richard, how'd you do with the heat wave over there?
Yeah.
We didn't really get it. We hit 2021, it was 38.7, I think it was, in Cambridge, which broke the record. But we just don't get heat like that up here. I think our record is 26.6, really? I think. So yeah, we never really get it that high. This summer's definitely been warmer, but I think there was a few years back that we had a July that was the dullest and coldest in I think about 93 years. So it's very changeable up here between years.
But when we hear things, which I heard a couple of weeks ago, I have friends in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, and over toward Almere, which is east of Amsterdam a little bit, in the hundreds a couple of weeks ago, into the hundreds in that area. And based on what my friends told me, they just didn't, for them, it was terribly unpleasant. So,
So the Braves have tied the Twins 3-3. That's my breaking news, James. You want to play the breaking news? You want to play the breaking news segment there?
Well, I was going to say, Richard, this show's informal, right?
As a matter of fact, we do have some breaking news here.
Okay.
We interrupt this program for a CBS Radio Net Alert Bulletin.
From the newsroom inside worldwide headquarters of WeatherBrains International, this is a heat emergency update.
Okay, stand by live, stand by graphics, stand by effects, stand by cameras 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Stand by HD Superjet Copter 17, microwave truck and satellite feeds locked. Cancel mix minus to talent. We're live in 3, 2, and cue announce.
We go live now to our reporter who is live on the scene.
It's hot. Stay inside, have a drink of water, and get over it.
So now, do we have to pay royalties now to Matthews, or did we always have to pay them to Kevin on that piece?
Mm-hmm. I think we have to split it now, but we've not collected the stupid heat tip this year. TV stations where the anchors get that look on their face like they have gas.
Yeah.
This is a heat emergency. Let's give you some heat tips. Number one, stay in an air-conditioned room.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, man, if I didn't watch the news, I wouldn't know to do that. I mean, drink some water, stay hydrated, work outdoors after the sun goes down. I mean, it's like, So anyway,
I always liked when they said don't run the lawnmower because of the ozone, because that always gave me an excuse not to cut the grass.
Yeah, amen. Take that.
Somebody called me a turd roller.
Just tonight or recently?
No, this was like about a week ago because I wasn't covering the heat emergency in Alabama, and the high that day
we had a heat emergency.
The high that day was 89, which is below average, but. They said I was being bad because I refused to acknowledge the heat emergency in Alabama. So
is that really what they called you, a turd roller?
Yes, I don't exactly know what that means, but
may need to look that one up.
I could just write a book exclusively on the names that people have called me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It has gotten so insane these days. I'm almost like Kevin, it's like you wade into Facebook and these comments, and it is like, in the words of Tony Rice, a place of bile and weapons grade ignorance.
True.
So, but I tell people all the time, you can't hurt my feelings because I have no feelings left to hurt. So
there you go.
Give it up. Give it up. So,
and my saying. I tell my classes at UT. I said, if you feel like that you need to be offended by something I say, that's probably your fault. I don't really care. And so, frankly, if you're offended by something, that is your problem. I'm not going to worry about it.
And you have the grade books. You have the final.
Darn right.
So, James, anything else you want to ask Richard before we let him go to bed here at some point?
Yeah, but Richard, what time is it locally for you?
Yeah.
Is it 1:22? 3:20.
Yeah, 3:22.
So when do you go
saving
to
time
work?
just like us, James?
So I'm shift working. So we do 2 days, 2 nights, and then I get 3 and a bit days off. So I was on Wednesday, Thursday last week, and Friday, Saturday night. So I'm back on Thursday this week.
So I guess, Richard, that Bill did slip you a little money on the side, right? For being
sorry. No comment.
So out of all of the weather presenters on television there, who is your favorite locally?
Liam Dalton's quite good, who works for Channel 4. But I don't massively watch a huge amount of weather on TV. It's mostly I get it off kind of, social media, kind of Met Office website stuff. So there's not massive amount of watching presenters on TV. I usually put the TV on to watch weather when, there's significant weather happening. If you've got flooding, if you've got gales, and then you get a presenter walking along somewhere saying this area hasn't been accessed for weeks on end, yet somehow they're managing to walk through the area.
Richard, is it the same way like it is here in the United States with news there in that part of the world, or are people mainly getting their news from social media, or are they still, I know I love watching the BBC, even here, BBC World and some of the news broadcasts rather. And I enjoy that, but I've got to wonder, like here in the United States, a lot of people getting that latest news. I think when we got the news of El Paso this week, who got it in a tweet first? That's what I saw. And the same thing with everything else. The first news we get through social media. I assume it's the same way there.
I quite often get news updates either from the Guardian newspaper or BBC News as a notification on my phone. That's usually how I hear about things first, if they're significant enough to be breaking news. A lot of people now, it's social media that they get the news from, which is obviously not always the best source, depending on who they're getting it from. The main news at 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock, BBC and kind of ITV or STV, depending on where you live, they still get watched by a lot of people. And there's obviously still a lot of complaints when sporting action kind of knocks that out of the way, by several hours or entirely. So it still is popular. But a lot of people now are obviously, Netflix, Amazon, other streaming services, they have a preference of watching that now over actual live TV. So figures are obviously dropping there as well. Weather, obviously, it's not as extreme as it is in America. So, you'll get 2 or 3 minutes at the end of a news broadcast if you're really lucky. Mostly it's about a minute, maybe. There's a big forecast, the Country File forecast, that goes more into depth, which can be about 5 or 6 minutes on the BBC. But again, it's, I don't look at that for kind of significant weather. Usually Met Office or kind of other outlets.
So let me get this straight, Richard. You're saying that people complain when the sporting event knocks off the news?
Yep.
James, that sounds like where you need to retire.
Wow. Doesn't work that way around here.
Yeah.
Richard, plug it away, man. Tell us where people can find you on the web, blogs, Twitter, Facebook. Plug away. Go.
Western Isles Weather is on Facebook. It's Western Isles Weather on Instagram. It's Isles Weather on Twitter, and it's wordpress.com/Western Isles Weather for the blog. And that's where I post it all.
So we'll put these. We'll put this in the show notes for this week. So be sure and go follow Richard. So Richard, I guess we ought to let you take a nap here because the sun's about to come up over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rick, thanks so much for staying up late or getting up early, whatever you did here. But thank you. There's been a fun show tonight with you, Richard. Thanks so much, and thanks.
No problem.
Thanks, Richard.
WeatherBrains listener, you're the greatest. Thank you very much.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. Bill, we got to talk to you real quick about the annual National Weather Association meeting and WeatherFest in Huntsville, Alabama. So this is about a month away.
Yeah.
And this is for Joe Q public. This is not, for, practitioners and researchers. This is for the public.
That's right.
More about weather.
Saturday, September 7th, we're going to convene at UAH, the University of Alabama, Huntsville, from 10 in the morning until 4 p.m. It's this is the fourth year in a row we've done it, the fifth overall one that we've done. Of course, we started it, James, back in 2011 in Birmingham. But this, we keep building on it. It keeps growing. Last year at St. Louis, we had 6,500 people. Our goal this year is to have at least that many and maybe more, even though it's a smaller market. It's a very weather savvy market, obviously, North Alabama, as we well know. So we have some exciting things planned, James. Number one, we're going to have you for a book signing. We're excited about that. That's going to be a lot of fun, and you'll be speaking and have a stage show. But our friends at WAFF, Brad Travis, are really stepping up in a presenting role, and we're excited about that. Everyone can go and get their free time tickets right now at weatherreadyfest.com. They're totally free. Get as many as you can carry. We want you to bring all the family. There are football games that day. Alabama and Auburn are both at home, but we'll have it playing on all the televisions in the Charger Student Union. We'll have around 15 large weather vehicles, everything from radars and profilers and all sorts of crazy things there because we're right across the courtyard from Swirl. The UAH severe weather folks that are, actively involved in Vortex. We'll have fire trucks and EM control command vehicles and everything else you can imagine. There's a slate of 12 speakers. There's a National Weather Service spotter training. And let's see, at this point, I guess it'll be 120 lucky winners will get a golden ticket, sort of like Willy Wonka, to tour the National Weather Service in Huntsville. They've never had an open house, I understand. And their new MIC, Todd Barron, they're going through the final approvals, but they're going to open up the office and you'll win a chance that day to be one of those 120 lucky people that get to go and tour the Weather Service. But we'll be in the Charter Student Union. We'll be in the Shelby building. There'll be lots of food, activities, about 60 exhibitors. It's not too late to sign up to be an exhibitor. So if you have an activity or a weather-related product and you haven't heard about this or you haven't decided, you get in touch with me or Scott Martin, and we'll make sure that you're on there. And tonight we were going to have 2 UAH students who've just been super. James, you've heard of the Rocket City Weather Fest. They rolled their event into ours this year, so there wouldn't be 2 competing events, which has been really, really nice. And these 2 young people, Shane Pendleton and Ellen Thaxton, have been amazing. They've thrown themselves into this, and we're going to have them on the show in 2 weeks so you guys can meet them, because I want you to see, what happens when perseverance gets together with, with a really strong will and a lot of youthful energy. They've made our lives, super this year. So that's kind of an overview. Now you're supposed to ask the tough questions. What were the tough questions, Jay?
Well, no. So how many people? This thing was packed last year in St. Louis. It was a big crowd and
a huge facility too.
Yeah, so I would assume this might be one of the bigger weather events of the year in the Southeast. Not counting the NWA meeting, but the Weather Fest that's on Saturday, September 7th. I would imagine you'll have hundreds of people at this thing.
Well, we hope we'll have, we're planning for 6,000. And we'd like everybody to get one of those time tickets just to help us understand, because at the end of the day, all the proceeds go to the National Weather Association Foundation and all of its efforts for teachers and grants and scholarships. And so we've become the, primary fundraising vehicle, for the foundation. And so at the end of the day, all of the net proceeds go back to that. So, we're trying to keep our costs as controlled as we can. We give every person that comes a passport, and it's a 20-page document that is chock full of, weather safety information. And in the middle there, passport stamps that they go around and collect at all these exhibitors, and they win door prizes. Nick Walker from the Weather Channel will be doing his thing, 3 different times during the day, and everybody will come and, get a chance to win some really cool door prizes. And that gets to be really exciting. So you're right, James. We're hoping for a really huge crowd. We're hoping for good weather. And, if you're anywhere, Southern Tennessee, Northern Georgia, Northern Alabama, Northern Mississippi, anywhere in the state of Alabama, it's a great weekend opportunity to take the family to Huntsville. There's so many cool things to do there. And this will be the cool place to be on that Saturday. If you just, you can't live without college football, come early if your team plays in the afternoon, or come later if they play in the morning, because, we're going to be there from 10 to 4 that day.
Well, I think this NWA meeting, Bill, is going to be amazing as well. It's nothing like having this in Huntsville, and I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I've got to work as instant meteorologist for a Longhorn game here in Austin on Saturday, so I won't be able to get there till Sunday in the afternoon. But I'm really looking forward to seeing all of y'all in person after we talk this way all the time. Just looking forward to seeing everyone, and I know it's going to be a real good meeting, and I know with you involved that it's going to be a great outreach as far as weather is concerned.
Well, I think the really exciting thing, James, and you know this from all the people who were in the bright shirts last year, the volunteers have just become amazing on this event. We're going to have over 100 volunteers this year, both nationally, folks that are involved in the National Weather Association and in local UAH students that are so excited about it, So, 100 people are not going to show up an extra day early to come to something unless it really has some meaning. And it's doing some good. James knows, end of the day, your tongue is hanging out because, you are worn out. Last year, James, you did multiple stage shows with Ginger Z. You spoke. You're going to do it again this year. You end up leaving it all on the field. That's for sure. But it is so worth it at the end of the day.
Awesome. So again, this is Saturday, September 7th, and we should mention we are doing the show live Monday, September 9th. At the NWA annual meeting in Huntsville.
And I have to put a little pitch in there for Greg Stumpf and the Ron, James. That's the event that we'll be at. It's named for Ron Prespolinski. It's the Research Operations Nexus, where Greg and a great steering team that he's put together bring together, folks from operational meteorology, folks from research, and put them at tables together. And the networks and the ideas that come out of that are beginning to already bear fruit. So they'll be doing that again on that Monday night. And we'll be over in the corner snagging some of those, high level talent folks as they come by. And Greg is really excited about that.
I got a question for you, though. Do we have to clean up for this?
No, it's no good.
There's another show title, by the way.
Yeah, I think that is the show title for the night.
Do we have to clean up for this?
They have a really cool beer craft trail in Huntsville. So you're going to.
Ooh.
No, Aubrey can't talk, or she's frozen.
I can talk. Wait, I'm sorry. What did I just hear?
Beer craft trail. They were sticking brochures at me Friday up there when I was there to give to you, because they need some promotion for their trail.
All right, done.
All right. So,
challenge
that wasn't hard, was it?
Wow, that was easy.
Who's in? Shoot me an email.
Hey, Aubrey, can you do an email segment here while you got a second? Because I just happened to see that we've got a second to do this. So let's do a little break here. We're going to dive into the email inbox to see what goodies we can find.
Letters. We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
All right, so this first one comes to us from Rick Halterman. You guys have about 1,000 years of experience. Maybe you could point me in the right direction. I've always loved meteorology. Took a meteorology class at Penn State after retiring. What about for older people who are just retired? I don't need the money and would love to leverage my computer skills to volunteer, help a student or any meteorologist doing research on operational meteorology. I don't want to take an intern position away from a young person, but would love to keep learning. Any ideas?
You know, one thing that I would do, if you don't do anything else, please look at the opportunities offered all over this country by the warning coordination meteorologists, outreach people at the Weather Service offices, particularly winter into spring with the Skywarn sessions. A lot of them do basic and advanced Skywarn. By the way, the cost is also good with that as well. There's usually no cost, just a time investment. And we have a lot of people. We have our big Skywarn here in Austin the first weekend in February this year. It's all day Saturday. It runs from 9 a.m. to about 4 p.m. with Paul Ura, our warning coordination meteorologist. Great outreach. That's one area I would look at. Just look and see what kind of opportunities outreach that you're going to see offered to you by the National Weather Service. There's an amazing amount of stuff online. I would recommend, Aubrey, I hope everyone here would recommend, you know, there's another one too, no cost. Go to the Comet module.
Oh, you
Yes, Comet, yep.
Go to the Comet modules online. Just look up Comet and meteorology in a Google search.
Yep.
And folks, you can even set up underneath an ID, you can set up a transcript for classes that you've completed. And I include those actually on my CV. So I think that's a good place to go too.
Absolutely.
That's a great one. And yeah, you just create a login and it keeps it there. And there's a million resources on the Comet module. So yeah, that's definitely a good one there, Troy.
I would recommend as well. Now I think about it, because I've done some of these, and in fact, online and in person. But you know, FEMA offers a lot of emergency management stuff as it relates to weather, and I've done through I think ICS 800 on all my classes that I have to take as a requirement. But this stuff is online, and again, it's there, and they also keep a transcript for you as well. And you know, there are other opportunities. I have to give a plug for Aubrey's and my travel destination back in March, but places like Mississippi State that offer online classes for people. You have to give it to the people at Mississippi State. They were some of the first people to realize this thing we call distance learning, that not everyone could get to a campus. And there's some amazing stuff there, and that may cost a little bit, but at the same time, I still think it's where we're headed.
Does Penn State still have their classes?
I was going to say, I was actually just talking to someone recently who is taking classes online at Penn State. So I believe they offer then the certificate also at Penn State. If Rick has already taken a class at Penn State, then you might want to take a look at the certificate program at Penn State. So that would also be another great idea. Then we also have this one from Mitchell in northern Minnesota. I grew up in northern Minnesota, found a wonderful radio broadcast of the tornado outbreak that struck the Twin Cities in 1965. The radio broadcasters took live calls from people and reported on the storms. You can find it on YouTube by searching WCCO Radio 1965 tornado coverage. It's really amazing to hear the callers describe the cloud formations, tornado structure, and the damage reports live on the air.
And Aubrey, I'm going to tell you, when we got that note from Mitchell, that's one of the first things I did is went back and listened to the couple of those, and they're amazing. It's sort of. I don't mean to be negative with this, but it's sort of like the way journalism is supposed to be, I think. And WCCO, and they're well known for their what they've done in the Twin Cities. It really is very good, and I thank Mitchell for sending that along.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
And one more from Rob Strecker. This is from a couple weeks ago on 7/20 on July 20th. A couple of pictures of a shelf cloud coming in some storms from the other night. So Rob sent us some pictures. So we appreciate that. So if you have any emails from us or for us, email at weatherbrains.com. Love to hear some interesting, we had like a lot of interesting emails tonight, a lot of different things. So your guest suggestions, what you like about the show, maybe something cool that you found. Love to hear from you. Email at weatherbrains.com. Don't forget to follow us on the Facebook and the Twitter.
And please don't
Preferably
send,
Twitter.
and don't send any emails calling James. What was that again, James?
Turd roller.
Okay, turd roll. Okay, I just thought I wanted to say it. Don't do that. Don't do that.
We appreciate the kindness that most of our viewers usually deliver to us.
Yeah, if you're really nice, you get to be on the show one day.
Exactly.
That's right.
On that
Get a call
note,
from
let's
Bill.
take a break here for Tony Rice, and we're going to come back with the picks of the week and more as WeatherBrains rolls along.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your astronomy outlook.
This week and next, look for Mercury in the pre-dawn sky. This innermost planet is usually lost in the sun's glare, but you can catch a glimpse of it as it reaches the point of greatest elongation or separation in the sky from the sun. This happens about 3 to 4 times a year because Mercury takes only 88 days to complete its trip around the sun. It rises around 5 a.m., about an hour and a half ahead of the sun. This is the point of greatest western elongation, and it maxes out at about 16 degrees above the horizon on Saturday morning. Now, if you're just not a morning person, you can wait until Mercury reaches the point of greatest eastern elongation in February, when it will be visible after sunset low on the western horizon. Elsewhere in the sky, you can watch the waxing gibbous moon cozy up to Jupiter after sunset throughout the week. They're 24 degrees apart tonight, August 5th, but by Friday, August 9th, the pair will be just a degree apart, making the gas giant very easy to find in the southern sky. That's your astronomy outlook. Follow me at RTP Hokey for more spacey stuff like this.
When the weather ball is red, warmer weather is ahead. When the weather ball is white, colder weather is in sight. When the weather ball is green, no change in the weather is foreseen. When colors blink by night or day, precipitation's on the way.
By the way, for those that don't know, that jingle was from WCCO, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah.
They used that in 1949 was the date of that particular jingle, the weather ball. So anyway, I thought we'd do a quick little weather roundup. We kind of did that as the show started. But one thing that's interesting to me, here we are, August 5th. We're into August. September's almost here. And in the Atlantic Basin, how many tropical storms and hurricanes are going on right now? 0.
Mm-hmm.
And
none on the horizon.
And, you know, the Hurricane Center, last week I was on vacation, and of course, you know, weather never goes on vacation, so you're always kind of poking around. And as I recall, at one point early in the week, the Hurricane Center had a 70% chance of development with a wave.
Yeah.
Between the Lesser Antilles and the coast of Africa. And it never happened.
Well, there's also been a lot of dust out there, too. I know that heron dust is still holding on in some parts of the Atlantic. So never say never, as James and all of us know. The fun really lies ahead. We're the latter part of August, September, first part of October. Stand by.
Just understand that you can't call it a bust.
Yep.
I saw some traffic today say, man, NOAA needs to downgrade their hurricane outlook. And I think they're going to issue an updated outlook here soon. But
a couple of days. Yeah.
Yeah. This game's just starting here. I mean, come on now. You don't call the final score in the first quarter. Yeah. So we'll see.
Another thing, too, is it again has to do with location. Where are you? I would say that the people in southern Louisiana, it wasn't a big one, wasn't a bad one. But I'd say they're pretty sick of it, and they probably don't care to have anything else happen. But it's whether or not you've been affected by one that makes the difference, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. The climatological peak, I want to say, is September 12th.
Yeah,
right in the middle of the NWA meeting. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to happen right during that NWA annual meeting in Huntsville.
Oh, wow.
So the Atlantic Basin is nice and quiet, and looks like the hottest weather in the country is back in the deserts. Looks like Death Valley did 122 today, but it's a dry heat.
Yeah, right.
and of course, Troy, what was your dew point during the triple-digit peak there today?
Today, I'm looking at dew points now right around 68, 70. It was a little lower during the day due to some mixing, but we're sitting at about 70 now. It's uncomfortable outside. Temperature still right now, 9:45 Central Time. Camp Mabry here in Austin still at 91. The sun's been down for about an hour now. 91 there, and 80. What is that? 88 out at Austin Bergstrom International Airport. It is still unpleasant around the capital city tonight.
Yeah. All right. So let's do picks of the week, and I'm going to do mine, and I've got to go change into the Superman outfit here for television. Go on the phone.
Yeah, I had to show you my poison ivy blister, James. It's a sign because it's the shape of the Braves tomahawk. So I think that's a good sign for this season. So
please.
Don't you think that could be an
That's
omen?
nasty. Now, but look at your poison. That's gross. Here, let me show you my boils on my feet down here.
Well, that's a little different. This is hard work gained me this poison ivy blister here.
Oh man,
I'm just cranky because the Red Sox lost 8 in a row until tonight. So we were there last week at Fenway. Had a great
hadn't
time.
they just beaten the Yankees 3 in a row or something?
Yeah, they pummeled the Yankees, and then they lost. They got swept by the Rays and the Yankees. And so that really was tough. But we sat up on that green monster for the game Tuesday night, and it was for an old man. That was a thrill. And again, it was just a great trip. We love going up there. So the siren thing. It is just it drives me crazy. And people that have heard me talk, that I know for a fact that the mentality, the notion that you should hear some air raid siren before a tornado has killed countless people. I can prove that. But there's an article that came out about people in Ohio, and I think it was Dayton, after their tornado, they want sirens. They want them. We ain't got no sirens here. We don't know tornadoes are coming. So, I don't know what the United States has this love affair with these things. People think they're sexy or something. But the truth is they're horribly inefficient at reaching people inside a business, a house, a church, a school. They're not efficient at that. They're not. They serve a purpose. They do serve a purpose. They reach a limited number of people outdoors. The problem, so many municipalities don't have the funding to maintain them.
Yeah.
And they're just decommissioning these things. They're starting to go away. And we need to come to a point where we just need to decide we need to move on. And this is what you need to do. I would say weather radio, if I had to guess, weather radio penetration is 1% there. I just have that funny feeling where we somehow have to do a better job of getting a weather radio into every house and being sure people understand what WEA is, wireless emergency alerts on your phone. If nothing else, WEA, it's no app, it's built in. And explain, how to use that. And we just have to be better at that and get people off this siren thing. So,
well, one of the things too with the siren, James, and you've pointed this out before, is in so many locations, at least ones I'm familiar with, where you have sirens, you have this different wail means this tone means that tones means this, and it gets where it creates more confusion when they actually go off. Here at the University of Texas, we have a siren system actually in place on campus, on the 40 acres, the main campus here. But James, that siren is very simple. It goes off. It means you shelter in place. That's all it means. You need to shelter in place, whatever. So there's one reason for it to go off, and people pretty much know what to do if it goes off. But I agree with you.
That's great. That's a great idea. But you got some municipalities, they'll sound sirens for a severe thunderstorm warning.
I know.
They'll sound the sirens when a dog pees in a bush. And it's just like those things went off all the time, and nobody ever pays attention for the ones that can hear them. But on that note, I got to go change clothes. Bill, the floor belongs to you.
Oh boy, there. Well, on that note, as James is pointing at us there, so we'll go around the horn here. Anybody have anything? Did we get all the picks of the weekend, Troy? Did we do you?
No, because I don't have one. I was kind of watching. I know. But kind of watching the line of thunderstorms, kind of Bowie looking, that's coming across northern part of Lake Michigan tonight and southern parts of Wisconsin into northern Iowa. They're north of Des Moines. That is kind of getting my attention. I know severe thunderstorm warning here in the last half hour or so out in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So there's still some thunderstorms out there pretty strong. I noticed some showers over your way, Aubrey, right? I mean,
yeah, they've fizzled. There's not much left, but there's a lot more activity toward Myrtle Beach, Wilmington. I saw some cool video, a lightning video. I think Ed Petrosky retweeted from earlier tonight.
Yep,
with some more active storms with that stalled boundary.
I really think the big thing in the next week or so is going to be watch it. So we'll be here in Texas and the Southern Plains as that upper level high comes in out of the southwest and really sets in. Because see, the ridge is really not on top of us right now. We get 100 degrees. And
it's going to be shortly, Troy.
Yeah, I think 103, 104 by the weekend here in Austin. We will see.
Yeah, and 594 decameters.
Yeah,
right over you.
Yep.
Looking at I don't know. The new NAM is keeps it a little further west. Is that true, or is that maybe it doesn't know what it's talking about? The newest front of the NAM keeps it pretty far to the west of you, so maybe that'll. I
don't know. Maybe so, but I'm still looking for the heat around here. One thing too that's contributing to that around here is a little more. Texas is now going back into drought again. The here in Austin, the soil and the surface is dried out, and now even some of the subsoil layers are beginning to dry out as well. So that'll contribute to those warmer temperatures in the days to come.
Yeah. Any drought in your neighborhood, Aubrey?
No. I mean, we're drying out just a little bit, but no drought yet. We're still doing pretty okay as far as our rain is concerned. But if we don't, I would, give it another month if we don't start to get more widespread activity. I mean, that's how up on rain we are. But we do tend to dry out in the fall because that's our big agriculture area. That's our harvest season. So.
So that's good. Any pick of the week for us, Aubrey?
Yeah. So my pick is going to be the Mid-Atlantic Chaser Con, which I believe I am a guest on Carolina Weather Group podcast again this week, trying to push to the southeast and to the crew here on the East Coast. So for Chaser Con for the Mid-Atlantic, it is in October in Richmond, Virginia. You can look it up. We've got an amazing lineup, and the early bird ticket price goes up after August 15th. So if you're interested, you got to get your tickets before August 15th. We're at the Science Center in Richmond. It's going to be a great time. And you can also meet Dr. John Scala. He'll be presenting.
Ooh, lots of oohs and ahs over there.
Dr. John.
Well, exciting developments in the guest department, because next week we've been trying to get Neil Frank for some 16 years.
Yeah.
And we supposedly have him. So keep your fingers crossed. And hopefully we'll be talking to him next Monday night, the 12th. Jeff Halverson, who writes an outstanding article in Weatherwise every month, will be along too, because he has some tremendous insight into the flooding from Hurricane Camille in 1969. Thank you for putting that together, Aubrey, now that Aubrey's gone.
Yep.
And that she just left you and I here, Troy. So,
well, I mean, we can run this show, right?
I think we can.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about next week's show. And then on the 19th, Nate Tanner from Delta Airlines is going to join us in that.
I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be interesting.
And like James said earlier, on September 9th, we'll be live from the NWA. We'll come that night at 7:00, a little early. So that'll be a lot of fun to be there in the Von Braun Civic Center for the NWA right after the icebreaker and right at the beginning of the run. So those are some guests coming up. My pick of the week is weatherreadyfest.com. It's not too late to sign up to be an exhibitor, not too late to sign up to be a sponsor. It's an excellent exposure opportunity. And like I said, now that we've covered all of our costs, every, bit of money that we make from this point forward will just add to the check that we write to the National Weather Association Foundation. We'll be sharing a little bit of that with the Huntsville chapter, the student chapter at UAH of the NWA and the AMS, because they have worked really, really hard. And we're excited about sharing that with them. And so get your free time tickets. If you're anywhere within, a day and a half drive of Huntsville, they got great hotels there. Come make a weekend out of it. And we promise we will show you a good time. So, Troy, any other business we need to bring before this body?
No, the only thing I'll mention is just exactly what you said. If you've never attended this weather outreach program, like is going to be going on that Saturday in Huntsville, I don't care where you are around the Mid-South, the Tennessee Valley, and that area in the southeastern U.S., you really ought to go. It's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of people, and it's really down to earth, and a lot of really cool people there. And then there'll be Bill. So
yeah, that's right. I'll be the one over in the corner, just in the fetal position. By that, it really is such a sense of pride by the time we get to that point.
Right.
That so many people have come together as a team to make that happen. And I have to remember our great sponsors, that are involved. USAA is the near title sponsor. They were exceptionally generous with us. Huntsville Utilities, the Comet folks, the UAH, has really opened their purse strings to help us make this work. And like I said, we're looking forward to working closely with WAFF in terms of promoting it to the local market there. Brad Travis, who is a great member of the National
Absolutely, yeah,
and a good friend of the podcast and us meteorologists, is completely on board. We had lunch with him at a place called Under the Radar. Troy, I got a feeling that place is going to get a lot of business during that week in Huntsville, right off the square there in downtown near the Civic Center. I think there'll be a lot of meteorologists hanging out in that place. What do you think?
Well, it really is neat too that we get to be up there where the Vortex project has been centered this year as well, over with Swirl and that group. I just think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So we be there or be square.
There you go. That's exactly right. Well, WeatherBrains is the weekly netcast that's all about weather. We lovingly do this show every Monday night generally, and please tell your friends about it. They can pick it up anywhere that they like to get podcasts from, and we'll continue to do it as long as the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Troy, I guess that's a good saying from South
Best
Texas,
way to put
Alabama. And so I hope you stay cool this week, Troy. And until next Monday night when we get together, hopefully with Bill Reed, Jeff Halverson, and the great Neil Frank, and we'll talk about Hurricane Camille. Have a great week. And till then, keep an eye to the skies, because you'll always have something fun to look at. Troy, thanks.
Hey, thank you, Bill. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. Happy belated birthday.
Hey, thank you, sir.
All right, man.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And we're done. Hey, guys, thank you all for watching. Had a great show tonight, and we'll see you guys next Monday night, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.